Welcome to Everyday Linux User. In today's video I'm going to be looking at very lightweight Linux. The premise of today's video is there was a message on a Facebook group that I belong to, Linux One, and the person asking the question was looking for a Linux distribution that would run in 256 megabytes of memory. You are hearing that right, 256 megabytes of memory. On top of that, 16 megabytes of that was for graphics, so shared graphics. So really, it's not even the full 256 megabytes. And the question the guy asked was, is it possible to run any Linux distribution within that amount? And is it possible to do basic web browsing and watch videos, for instance, YouTube? So I spent some time looking into this because I wanted to see, is it actually possible to run Linux under 256 megabytes. So I've created some virtual machines, and you'll see I've got these 6 machines at the bottom. Because it's only 256 megabytes, I had to assume that the guy was using a 32-bit computer, because I can't believe anyone would make a 64-bit computer and only give it 256 megabytes of RAM. So I have to assume it's an old computer, and therefore it's probably 32-bit. And my methodology for choosing distros therefore had to be distros that would run in 32-bit. So from that, I've come up with 3 viable candidates: antiX, Q4OS, and Devuan. Now, I've done a review of antiX 64-bit. It is very lightweight, so it's a good starting point. And there's 2 versions, one with sysv and one with with runit. And I was just looking to see if it made a difference either way. It really doesn't. I will show you that, but it doesn't really make a difference. Q4OS 32-bit. I've been on a bit of a Q4OS mission in the past week. And then there's Devuan. Devuan is Debian without systemd. The reason I went for Devuan instead of Debian is I figure that systemd possibly is going to be more memory intensive than the init system. So I figured Devuan would be a better choice for that. Obviously, I want window managers, I don't want desktop environments, and I don't want Wayland anywhere near it. I don't want anything that can push that memory usage up. So now, to start off with, looking at these virtual machines, you'll see that I have cheated in terms of my systems. I've given it the full 8 gigabytes. But that's not the purpose of this. It's not to try and crash my virtual machines. The purpose is I'm going to look at the htop and look at the memory usage within the virtual machines to see how high it goes. So without further ado, let's start off with antiX 32-bit. As you can see, the login screen is very old school. And the window manager is IceWM, which is good because it's one of my favourites. So after a bit of playing around, I've got it looking like this. So the main point is, let's look at the memory usage. You can see I've got 148 megabytes of RAM used via Conky. If I open a terminal and type htop, yeah, you can see it's 142, 143 megabytes. So that doesn't leave much for the web browser. The web browser is CMonkey, and you can see the RAM usage has now gone up to 242 megabytes. If I try a simple website, let's try the news, and you can see it's gone up to 277 megabytes. So the page renders okay, and you can use it. We will try this with just the 256 meg to see what happens in a second. But you can see that actually does work okay. But the key thing is, if you want to watch YouTube, the RAM usage spikes quite high. So you can see it's gone up to 686 meg. So this is not viable for watching YouTube. It's possible to run a single website like the BBC News, but it's still slightly over the 256 meg. So on that basis, antiX very lightweight in terms of initial RAM usage, 156 megabytes. Let's see what other applications are installed. You've got a PDF viewer. Now, if you want to run something like a Office suite, you might be able to play the odd game, but I think you're going to be very limited. You've got just under 100. You've got about 100 megabytes of RAM left. Install on applications. You can see that's rising up, 197 megabytes now. So it is possible to install applications. Let's see if that spikes over the 256. It doesn't. So using apt is perfectly feasible. And so if we now run AbiWord, so it is possible to do simple document editing. And numeric works as well. Installing LibreOffice, it briefly took the RAM over the 256 mark. And there you go, it's gone up to 340, 350. So I'd imagine you'd have a bit of swapping going on at this point. So LibreOffice may just work. I get the feeling it won't. But yeah, so antiX is possible to run under 256 megs. What you can do with it is probably not all that much. You can do word processing, you can do simple spreadsheets. LibreOffice just about runs, but YouTube is a no-go. I'm going to show you the other antiX just to make sure that it is around about the same benchmark. So let's do that. So as you can see again, we've got the 800 by 600. The RAM usage is about 90 megabytes. So using that, what we're going to do is we're going to shut down this machine and set it to be just the 256 megabytes memory and see what happens. So you can see I put that down to 256. I'm using a single core because you can imagine that anything with 256 megs probably only a single core computer. So let's try that out. Okay, so I think this is as bad as we're going to get. So let's run the web browser. You can see it is beginning to use swap now on occasion. Let's try YouTube. And you can see a lot of swaps being used here. It's going to go up and up and up. Now I've got a 2 gig swap drive on here, but you have to question, would the PC that has 256 meg of RAM have 2 gigabytes of drive? Maybe it doesn't. So the person who owns that would probably need to put in make sure they've got a drive big enough to have the 2 gigabytes of swap space. And you can see this is quite choppy, trying to get just past the adverts. And you can see it's set the quality down to 360p. And clicking around anywhere in here is taking forever to actually do anything. But ultimately it is playing the video. Now obviously you can't hear the sound, I haven't put a sound card in, but it is actually playing the video. But there you go. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. Let's try and install software. You can see the RAM usage has dropped right back down. I'll close down the browser window. As you see, LibreOffice is actually working. Whether it would work for any length of time or how big the document can be before it becomes unusable, that's probably the ultimate question here. But yes, it is possible to use LibreOffice. within 256 meg of RAM. Like I say, how long it would last before the swapping became a problem. You can imagine the bigger the document, the worse it's going to get for you. But it would be possible to do things like type letters, things like that. So antiX is probably a good choice, but you can see things happening here, like the desktop wallpaper's not really playing ball. The screen resolution isn't perfect either. All things that could probably be fixed. That's not the part of this video though. This video is all about, can you get it running under the 256? Will it actually work? And I think, yeah, we can say that antiX is limited, but it does work, and it's about as good a choice as you're going to get. The next one we're going to try is Q4 OS. Again, we've got the full 8 gigabytes on this one. So let's start it up, see what the default memory usage is. Again, 32-bit. Now this is using the Trinity desktop. And you can see we're already using 232 megabytes to start off with. But I have got the ability to run full screen mode. So the web browser, that's Conqueror. So let's try and do some basic browsing. You can see we're well up into the 360, 370 mark, and that hasn't loaded properly at all, so we'll quit that. So let's install another web browser. Let's have a look at Falcon. It's already installed, so I should be able to find that. There we are. And this has gone straight to the last page I looked at, which was YouTube, so you can see the memory usage going up, 604, 610. And there you go, so it's now up at the 720 megabytes mark, 725. So it's a bit more heavy-handed than antiX, but what you're getting for that is you do actually get the full desktop in a virtual machine, and it's full screen and full resolution. So let's see how that would play out in if you really did only have 256 meg. So what we're going to do is going to shut down, and we're going to change the memory settings in the virtual machine. So here we are, we'll go into here. We're going to system, we're going to take that right down to 256. Again, one CPU, and then we'll leave the memory alone in the video memory. So I've only got a gigabyte of swap on this one. Memory usage 132 out of the 238. So let's go to Falcon. And it's going to go to YouTube again. So we're instantly going to see that swap go up. And here we go, it's now playing the video, but you can see it's very, very blurry. And the timer here is jumping around. So it is actually playing the video. Okay, so it might be low resolution, but it is actually playing it. So it is possible to watch videos. So let's close the web browser down. And let's see what other software is on here. Do we have an Office suite? I don't think we do. So we'll go to the install applications. So that's LibreOffice installed. It obviously taking a lot longer to load than it did for antiX. You can see the swap going up there. It's not loaded yet. Is it going to do it? So you can see I've typed all that, it didn't take that long, and when I show you this it's going to be in real time. As you can see, that was generally responsive. I managed to type all that out. It didn't stutter in any way whatsoever. Like it says in the text, when you start adding photos and tables and more intricate things, it may well slow down, but it actually worked okay. And that's LibreOffice, that's not AbiWord. So if you did find that LibreOffice started slowing down, you could of course install AbiWord. Now LibreOffice wasn't as responsive in terms of load as it was for antiX, but it still worked within Q4 OS. So between antiX and Q4 OS, I would say antiX gives you more memory to play with, and it is more responsive when using things like LibreOffice, and YouTube seem to work a little bit better as well. But I would say Q4 OS, the desktop, is a nicer experience to use. If you can get used to IWM and learn its intricacies, then it may well work better for you. So you're trading desktop environment for Window Manager, really, I think, at this stage. So let's close down Q4 OS, and we're going to look at Devuan. So this is Devuan. I've managed to get that into full screen mode, so if you want to use IWM with that. So if I open up a terminal, if I htop on that, we're using 105 megabytes. But you can see, because I've got 4 cores and I've got plenty of memory, this is going to work perfectly fine. I'll try again in a second with the 256 with one single core. As you see, it's able to play the videos okay. Let's try again now, but let's take the memory usage back down again. One core. Here we are, we're in Devuan again. Let's have a look at the memory usage. You can see we're already using some swap, only 656k though, 61 meg of the 238 in use. And let's now go to Falcon. See the swap's going up. You can see the resolution's quite poor. It is playing the video, however. It's a little bit stuttery. And you see it is now playing the video. It's just very poor quality. If we go for LibreOffice, you can see it loads. And you can see that I was able to type that document quite quickly. You can watch videos, as with antiX and Q4 OS, it is going to be a bit jerky. You can run LibreOffice and you are able to type documents. If you do find it gets a bit slow, you could use AbiWord or Numeric for your WordPresses and or spreadsheet needs. These distributions do seem to work. You should be aware it's going to use swap at times. It's not going to be a perfect experience. but you are able to run a Linux distribution on 256 megabytes of RAM. Now, out of the three, Devuan is actually my preferred choice because, unlike antiX, I didn't have my screen resolution issues, and unlike Q4OS, it doesn't use quite as much memory. So it's somewhere between the two. So actually, Devuan is probably my favourite choice out of the three. So to summarise, you can run a distribution on a machine with 256 megabytes of RAM, and you can watch YouTube videos, and you can do basic things like word processing, and I assume you can probably play basic games. Now, don't expect too much when it comes to watching videos. It might get choppy, might take a while to load, and it won't be of the best quality. And the same with word processing. Don't expect to be writing large documents, because you won't be. But it does work. So out of the three distributions I tried, antiX, Q4OS and Devuan, my preferred choice was actually Devuan using the ICE window manager. My next choice would probably be Q4OS, even though it used slightly more RAM than antiX, and it was a bit slower loading LibreOffice and YouTube. antiX was okay, but I found that the IceWM wasn't working as expected, and it was hard to get the screen resolution right, and I'm sure it's something I could work on and get working. But being that I got Devuan working more quickly, and antiX is based on Debian, which is basically Devuan without system with system D involved. So I think Devuan's the place to go. Now you might go for antiX because it's easy to get up and running to start off with, but my choice there would be Devuan. This is obviously for very, very old computing and 32-bit computers. So if you have a 32-bit computer and it doesn't have much RAM, okay, it may well have more than 256 megabytes, my choice would be Devuan. And that's the end of the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time on Everyday Linux User.